So now we're going to talk about the light sensor. Now the light sensor is not a camera, so it doesn't actually look at different objects and think, hey, it's blue, I'm going to go over there. It doesn't work like that. It measures the light intensity, so it can determine the brightness and darkness of different objects because of their surfaces. So it can allow the robot to distinguish between the different colors, but it doesn't actually know what color the object is. The light sensor reads as percentages. So the highest percentage obviously is 100%, which can be achieved by pointing the light sensor directly into a light bulb. So that's the ultimate, as high as it can go, and the lowest would be like a very dark place, so putting it in a closet. So that would be 0. So that's kind of the range. The higher the percentage, the lighter the object, the lower the percentage, the darker. If you look at the light sensor, you're going to see 2 bulbs. So the top bulb is the photo transitor, and that measures the light, and the one on the bottom is the LED. So the red LED, it will increase the amount of reflected light that the sensor reads. So it'll increase the sensitivity of the different colors. So it'll reflect the light differently. So if it's on a light surface, it's going to reflect that light a lot different as it would on a dark surface. So that is how the light sensor is able to determine if it is a light object or a dark object and how to respond. It's a really great addition to a light unit in science. So we're going to go ahead and configure the light sensor. So just like before, we're going to go to the sensing blocks, and we're going to go ahead and just put whichever port the light sensor is on, and we'll just click OK. So we can see these colors here. That is not for this NXT version. These blocks won't apply. We're going to mainly be using this light sensor brightness, and you can change it to darkness later on, but for now we're going to be working with the light sensor and it determining the brightness of different objects. So first we want to go ahead and create a variable, so we're able to kind of see the different variations and calculations, so we're understanding how our NXT brick is reading this information. So we'll go ahead and we'll make a variable and we'll call it brightness. Okay, and it's in our right hand corner now, so we'll go ahead and connect these 2 together, and we could go ahead here, and if we were to turn our NXT brick on, run our code, and if we were to put our light sensor on a white piece of paper, you would see the number here become pretty large, closer to 80, and if we were to put it near, let's say, a black surface, it would be between 20 to 50. So that, and you can test that out yourself to see, those aren't the set numbers, but that just gives you kind of a range. So go ahead, plug in your light sensor and just take a look and see how the number changes when you put it up at different objects, especially when you have the red and the blue ball too. You can go ahead and see how the number changes as well. So you can go ahead and do that. Another thing to make sure, whenever we're working with the light sensor, we need to calibrate this sensor in order for our bot to know what it's looking for. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So we'll get rid of this for now. We're going to go back to our sensing area, and we are going to move over this start auto calibrating light sensor, and this one, auto calibrate light sensor to include current reading. So if we're writing a program or putting one together here, as soon as we hit that red flag, we want it to just start auto calibrating that light sensor. So we want to turn it on. We want it to start calculating the different brightness and darkness of its surroundings, so it's starting to use that. Then we want to go ahead and use this repeat until. So we want it to continue auto calibrating until something happens. So we're going to go back to the sensing blocks, and we want to put this enter pressed block. So we're going to go ahead and start running the code. So when the green flag is clicked, the light sensor is going to start auto calibrating until enter. So the orange button on our NXT brick is pressed. Then it's going to auto calibrate the light sensor to include the current reading. So what you want to do here is just take your light sensor, put it up against something bright and then something dark. So then it just kind of gets an idea of what it's looking for. This is going to come in handy with future challenges that you're going to be using. So you want to make sure that your bot knows that that it knows the measurement range of the darkness and the lightness. So let's say you drew a black line that you want your bot to follow. You want that material to be calibrated. So the black line, put your light sensor up against that black line and maybe the white surface too, so that it can read both of those readings so that it's calibrated. So we have to do that each time we're working with our light sensor. So there's always going to be a little bit of extra programming when we're working with the light sensor. So if we were to go ahead and if we were to build with our lamps, you haven't done so already, it's quite fun. So if you were to go ahead and just build the 3 lamps together, and if we were to write a quick program with these, that if we were to wait until, so if we repeat forever, and if we wait until the light sensor brightness is something, we want it to be something dark. So we're going to have to take our operator, and since we know dark is going to be less than 50, we're going to put that inside here. So if the brightness is going to be less than 50, and if we wanted it to detect something light, we would maybe change these around. We would increase this number. So we want it to wait until something dark happens, and then we want to start, and we're going to use our motors. And because we're going to be working with the lamps, they can just be plugged in as a motor. And maybe if I have port 1, maybe it's red. Maybe this one's green. Whichever one you connect them to, you can just label them like that. So they work as a motor when you're working with the lamps. And so if something dark is detected, then maybe I want to turn on the red light. And if I only want the red light to turn on for a certain amount of time, I could just use this wait block, and maybe I only want it to turn on really quick. So we can use, maybe I want it to only go on for half a second. So that's one code that you could try doing. So just remember that when you are using the light sensor that you do have to add in this extra set of programming right here. So we want to start auto calibrating as soon as the green flag is pressed, and once enter is pressed, then it's going to auto calibrate to include that current reading that it's going to do. So have the material that you want it to read right away when you press enter, so that it can auto calibrate that reading. And then we'll wait until something dark appears, and if something dark appears, the red light should turn on for a short amount of time, and it'll repeat forever. So go ahead and configure your light sensor and give it a go.